In geometry, you guys learned SOH, TOA, and you need to remember what those stand for in trigonometry. So the SO is the sine of some angle. This is the Greek letter theta for an angle. The sine of theta equals the O opposite over hypotenuse. The CA standing for the cosine of theta being the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And then the TOA, the tangent of an angle, theta, equaling the opposite side divided by the adjacent side, the OA in TOA. So let's show what that would look like on a reference triangle. Okay, when we draw these triangles, remember we're working off the unit circle, and how long is the radius? The radius is 1 unit. This is 1 unit. This distance is also 1 unit. This distance from the origin to the top is 1 unit. That's why it goes to 0, 1. It's 1 unit up from the origin. So the radius is 1. Okay, cool. So let's say, for example, that we were given a 30-degree angle as your reference angle. So here's how you draw your reference triangle. You start at the origin and you think about how this is 0 degrees and like 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, like that. So you're going to go up to 30 degrees. You can estimate it. And then connect the line to the origin straight, and then straight down to the x-axis to create a right triangle. We said that this radius, which is also the hypotenuse, is a distance of 1. And then we want to highlight the opposite side. So sorry, let's put the angle. I'm jumping the gun here. So there's our 30-degree angle theta right there. And its opposite side is this y value. And its adjacent side is this x value. Okay, so it turns out that we can actually know those coordinates. You'll learn in the future how to remember or figure out those coordinates. But this x is the square root of 3 over 2. That's how far it is. And this y is 1/2. So we haven't taught you how to figure that out or remember that yet. For right now, you just need to trust me that that is true. So what we've done so far is said there's a 30-degree angle. So we'll open up a 30-degree angle from the x-axis and the origin and go up 30 degrees. And then from there, we'll stop and we'll draw a vertical line down to the x-axis for our right angle, and then also connect to the origin for our hypotenuse, and then label our opposite side, opposite from our angle theta, and our adjacent side that is next to our angle theta, like that. Notice that because we were in the first quadrant, we had a positive x value and we had a positive y value. In the next example, we're going to show how to relate the x and the y to the sine and the cosine. By relating them to this situation here. So what is the sine of, instead of theta, now we want the sine of 30 degrees. And so that equals opposite over hypotenuse. Well, our hypotenuse is the radius of the circle. So we know how long that is. That's 1. And then our angle is 30 degrees. So now we're finding the cosine of 30 degrees. So again, we're using the same hypotenuse, same triangle. We know that hypotenuse is the radius of the circle. So that's 1. So that means we know that our value for the sine of 30 degrees will just be how long the opposite side is. And our value for the cosine will just be how long the adjacent side is. Okay, so now looking at this side by side, if we go to the angle theta, its opposite side is the y value. You see opposite is the 1/2 for the y. So the opposite is 1/2, which looks weird. 1/2 divided by 1, which is 1/2. And just remember that this was the y value. The sine is the y value. And then for our cosine, we actually got this weird number in purple. The square root of 3 over 2. We haven't shown how to figure that out yet. You just have to trust me that that's the answer. So the purple cosine, the adjacent side, square root of 3 over 2, then divided by 1 because the hypotenuse is 1. So that equals square root of 3 over 2. So the cosine of 30 degrees is just square root of 3 over 2. And the other thing we want to remind is that the cosine is just the x value. So you see the purple value is to the right, and that's how far we went to the right. That's the x value. Okay, so that's one example of finding the reference triangle. In this case, it was starting from 30 degrees, then opening up from the x-axis up 30 degrees, draw the line straight down, vertical, to the x-axis, and draw your hypotenuse along the radius to make your right triangle. And then from there, identify that for the angle, 30 degrees, the opposite side will be the y value, and the adjacent side will be the x value, and then relate those to the sine and the cosine. Nice job.